So with the recent amazing news of Resident Evil 3 Remake's cover art being leaked on PSN, so much speculation and theories has arisen for this upcoming title, from its overall character depictions and appearances, to its gameplay mechanics and rumored announcement. So in this video, we'll cover everything we know so far about RE3 Remake, and discuss the overall lore, its characters, and what changes they made to make this next RE title a classic in the making. And also, of course, we won't forget about our favorite tyrant, Nemesis, and what changes they made for him in this remake. Anyways, before we do get started with the video, I just want to say my name is DeVuH, and I do cover a lot of Resident Evil and survival horror media content on my channel. So if you guys are interested in these types of videos, then please feel free to like and subscribe for more content like this in the future, and also possibly adding me both on Instagram and on Twitter, where you guys can message me there personally at any time. Alright, so let's go ahead and start this video off with the recent leaked images of Resident Evil 3 Remake on the PlayStation Network, which depicts a full cover art of Jill Valentine, the former STARS member from Resident Evil 1, Carlos Oliveira, a member of the Umbrella's Biohazard Countermeasure Service, and of course, but not least, Nemesis, the pursuer tyrant who gave us so much anxiety while playing the original Resident Evil 3. Alright, so starting with Jill, her relative design looks actually really good, with the character model depiction gives off a very grounded and realistic tone to her, similar to what they did with both Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield from Resident Evil 2 Remake, which this aspect is very understandable since the devs are using the new RE engine, which allows them to render a much more realistic looking character designs, allowing us players to see them in a much more grounded feel, which in a way helps with the overall immersion of our experience when playing RE2 Remake. So Jill in this case has been given the exact same treatment, where she shows a much more grounded look, her appearance looking slightly ragged, and her outfit is now changed to more of a tank top with an upholstery slots for her weapons, instead of the classic Resident Evil 3 version where we saw her with a tube top and a small skirt, which the reason for this outfit change from her RE1 version to her RE3 iteration was explained by SD Perry in one of her novels, but I'll get to that a little bit later in the video. Also, we get another screenshot of Jill's face from another angle, giving us another better look at this new design, which again I think it looks great.
What? Keep dreaming.
Alright, so let's move on now to Carlos, and his overall design changed from his initial iteration, which now depicts him having a much fluffier version of his hair, almost looking like he just went through an explosion. And I've seen many other RE fans state that this new look to Carlos doesn't seem to fit him quite well, since his original appearance looked like this, depicting him as a suave kind of character who even tried to use his magic on Jill.
I have to ask you something.
I know. You want to ask me out? All the foxy ladies love my accent. It drives them crazy.
Anyways, back on point, the overall appearance of dirt and the ragged look on Carlos plays in with a grounded feel for this new design like Jill has, which again is a great aspect to have for these characters in RE3 Remake. So if they're going with this direction with all their cast members, then we would expect them to have a much more grittier experience in this upcoming game, compared to what we got from the original Resident Evil 3, showing us to why they look so ragged, and maybe explain some of the dirt and cuts that these characters go through during the game.
Are you crazy? You could have barbecued both of us.
Also, their aspect to their appearances would make more sense in this type of theme, especially with Jill and her character foregoing the tube top and skirt that she wore from the original Resident Evil 3, which SD Perry mentioned that the reason for the sudden change to her outfit was to provide her with more mobility during her escape from Raccoon City, which this aspect plays in with a dodge mechanic during our gameplay, but also explains as to why Jill suddenly became much more nimble with her actions. Anyways, with both protagonists covered, let's go ahead and discuss the overall appearance changed with the infamous tyrant Nemesis. Which the very first aspect that I noticed with this BOW is his elongated teeth and how they really changed it up compared to his original version, which makes me wonder if this could somehow play into some type of gameplay mechanics where Nemesis could also bite our characters if captured, which would be a gruesome attack. Also, I do have a theory on this aspect as well, but let's move on to his other appearance change first before we dive into that topic, which we could cover his trenchcoat limiter and the small new details on the cover art, where we know that this limiter is placed on the many Umbrella Corporation tyrants to prevent them from overly mutating, with some great examples were with Mr. X and the Damnation tyrants like shown here. So Nemesis in this aspect played a similar role of mutating further in the original Resident Evil 3, but it didn't have the same elongated claws like Mr. X did. Instead, his tentacles around his body has now been released, and he was now able to use it as a weapon against our characters, whether attacking from afar or dragging our characters closer to him. Also, with this new iteration of Nemesis, we can see all the caution signs around his body, emphasizing him to be more of an experiment, which makes me think that he was just released from his containment like Mr. X, but had a lot more precautions to surround him since he was infected with the Any-Alpha parasite, making him more intelligent and warning those around him to keep their distance. Also, a new added feature that we can see with Nemesis is that cylindrical tube around his shoulder area and that equipment attached to his frontal chest, which this new addition has yet to be explained, but we can only speculate that this could house some of the tentacles inside his body, or he's housing something much more malicious in this new remake. Also, this tyrant's face looks grotesquely great, especially with the skin looking like it's been ripped and stretched, and the scar with staples that he's known for is slightly visible with this image. But the biggest gripe that a lot of RE fans have stated is the presence of that crooked nose, saying that Nemesis wasn't really known to have one, and adding this one feature ruins his overall design. But remember that I did mention that I have a theory in regards to his small new additions to his appearance, from his teeth to his skin and even his nose, because maybe in this version we'll get to see a complete backstory as to how he became a tyrant, where we see him start off prior to his mutation due to the T virus, and as he's mutating, his overall stature became too large for his flesh to handle, ripping his skin apart, and the constant change deformed his nose. Also, his teeth would elongate due to his skeletal structure stretching as well, which was just another added feature when he was turning into a tyrant. With this whole process could be similar to the Resident Evil Chinese manhwa, where we saw a man before he became Nemesis, then seeing Umbrella turn him into this abomination against his will, and placing that large equipment on his chest as a precautionary measure to control him better, since his intelligence became too much for Umbrella, almost like a failsafe that would activate if things got out of hand. Anyways, with this new leak, more and more rumors are arising, but before we get into that, I just want to say that all the info that I'm about to share should be taken with a grain of salt. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's discuss how conveniently all the leaks and rumors started to happen almost in a uniform way, with the biggest first info we had was with a YouTuber by the name of Spawnwave, where his sources mentioned that Resident Evil 3 Remake would be coming much sooner than expected, and the development for this game has been going on for a while now, almost coinciding with RE2 Remake, and the added rumors of an announcement happening before the Video Game Awards show 2019 was just growing, where many sources from Reddit and other social media outlets out there mentioned that this could be something legitimate, especially since Sony just announced a state of play just before the Video Game Awards, where news of upcoming titles could be announced, and this just happens a couple of days after the leaks of the RE3 Remake pictures on PSN. Also, another source mentioned more info on Nemesis, and how his battle mechanic works, stating that his playstyle would be similar to the original version of RE3, where he's able to run faster than Jill, able to break through walls like Mr. X, and even use items or bodies around him to throw at other characters, which I've always wanted to have a much more immersive setting for this game, allowing us to use miscellaneous items and places to take advantage of, where both us and Nemesis could pick up items to use against each other, or maybe having Jill be able to hide inside lockers or closets if needing to get away from this tyrant. Anyways, in the end, the sudden surge of news of Resident Evil 3 Remake is just amazing, and the many coincidences happening all at once. It just seems like we're bound for a big reveal very soon, and I'm going to be watching very closely during Sony's State of Play, the Video Game Awards 2019, and the Jump Fest soon after that. Anyways, what do you guys think about the sudden new images of RE3 Remake, and what changes did you like and dislike about it? Please let me know in the comment section down below. Also, if you guys enjoyed the content, then please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more RE3 news and content. Anyways, thank you guys so much, and as always, you guys have a great rest of your day, and this is Hey DeVuH, and I'll see you guys on the next video.